Hey there, creatives. Today's stream is going to be a little bit different. This is actually going to be a recording where I chat with Alexandra Robinson about filmmaking, YouTube, and all those kind of things, what the commonalities, what are the differences. But before we get into it, I just want to remind you that there is a creator event coming up September 9th where you can get together with other creators, chat, exchange ideas, and most importantly, learn from each other. If you want to join that, make sure to click the link in the description to sign up for the newsletter, and you get all the information in time to join this event. All right, with that being said, let's get into the conversation. Let's dig into like filmmaking and YouTube and all that stuff, right? Because basically this whole conversation was just sparked by one of your recent videos where you were like kind of asking everybody like what you should do because there's a lot of different creative outlets that you have.
Yes, yes.
And go ahead.
No, yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm kind of in this weird spot where I have a lot of options and routes that I could take, which is amazing, and I'm so lucky to say that. But it makes the decision making 10 times harder.
Yeah, I feel you. Is it possible? Could you like, I don't know, describe your path to where you are now in like 5 sentences or so? Like, what got you into like video filmmaking, this whole thing?
So my dad used to manage UFC fighters. So I kind of got started. I had edited videos beforehand, lots of videos on an old MacBook Air. I would make videos with the built-in webcam, but never really took it seriously. I started taking it seriously when I started making highlight reels for some of the fighters, and I would post them on YouTube on an MMA YouTube channel. And the channel racked up, I think I was 9 at the time, 9 to 11 I was doing those videos, and I racked up over 1 million views on that channel total. So I said, okay. Yeah, that's what I was like, maybe I'm gonna try a different route here, because that was when YouTube and creators were really starting to bloom as like a career, and people were, I remember Playlist Live, and I wanted to go to Playlist Live. That was one of my biggest goals at the time. So I told myself I'm going to transfer from the MMA videos and the editing real styles to personal videos, challenges, vlogs, pranks, all that stuff that was really popping off at the time. So I started that channel. It ended up going really well. I got, at its peak, it had 200,000 subscribers. And then things kind of, I guess, just took a turn and plateaued. There were two major events that had happened in my life that kind of forced me to shift my perspective and my outlook towards filmmaking. And it was either get serious about it or find something else. So I decided to get serious about it. The channel that I had originally created with 200,000 subscribers, because of those two major events that had happened in life, I lost my momentum on the channel. I lost my consistency, and the analytics just started trending downwards, constantly red. Anytime I posted, I had 200,000 subscribers, but my videos would get maybe 1,000 views.
Oh, wow.
So I said, yeah, it was rough. So I had to take a look at myself and say, you know, do I want to continue posting on this channel just because of the verified check mark and the amount of followers, but feel discouraged every single time I post? Or do I want to start fresh, give myself a challenge? That's kind of where I am where I'm at now, at least with YouTube. And then now new outlets have sparked from YouTube. Freelancing and production assistant on films and TV shows.
So, okay, the part of the story I didn't know until now is that you like literally grew up with YouTube. Like, you've been doing it since you're 9 years old?
Yeah.
how, I mean, I'm always fascinated how that's gonna, I don't know, how that shapes who you are. Because, you know, I still grew up with like regular television and just like whatever was on, and there wasn't much choice, right? And
yeah.
Wow, that is fascinating.
Yeah, it was interesting. It was a different perspective to have. I don't know anything else, so it's hard for me to compare it. But you know, I know that it is different than most people.
I think there's very few people who are actively creating something that millions of people watch at that age.
It's pretty insane.
Yeah.
I don't, and it just is. I think my videos to date total, all the videos I've combined on all the different channels, I believe I've gotten close to or 15 million views on YouTube. So this third channel is gonna be probably my last crack at YouTube. We'll see what happens with it, but past here,
Okay.
I'll go into different ventures if this channel doesn't work out. But I have a good feeling about it. I know I pretty much have a good idea of what works on YouTube and what doesn't. So I'm just gonna keep doing it until something works, something happens.
Yeah, I think you're in the right path there. And
Thank you.
so what sparked then the decision to also explore traditional filmmaking?
So I have been only doing. I was at college at UCF in Orlando. The pandemic had happened. I decided to move back home to South Florida and pursue YouTube more seriously. That's when I started this third newest channel. It was about 4 months after I started the channel, I was reached out to by the president of Rena Beauty to do some freelance work for them at New York Fashion Week. It was my first
Mm-hmm.
time ever really doing freelance work and client work. I had done one project before, but it was really like I was editing like a package of workout videos for an influencer. But this was like the first thing that I was filming, I was editing, I was creative director, everything. And I really fell in love with the process of it. It was cool, but it is commercial work. Commercial work, you lose a little bit of creativity. Luckily, with this company, they gave me a lot of creative freedom, which was amazing. But as I do more commercial work, it's definitely not always the case. From that, PAing didn't really come from freelancing. It was kind of different paths. I guess a mutual connection, a mutual friend had informed me that there was a possibility, a likelihood that they could just flip my name into this production and see if they can get me on as a PA. Of
Mm-hmm.
course, I said yes, because how could I say no? And it ended up working out. It was great. I mean, actually on set wasn't so great. It was the dead of winter, and we were outside every day. So it was rough. My first day was a 17-hour day after a snowstorm, all exterior shots. My toes were numb for 3 weeks. I thought I had lost
Damn.
feeling in them permanently. Yeah, it was
Mm-hmm.
crazy.
Yep.
And that was my first taste of the industry filmmaking struggle. So I'm at this point where I understand industry filmmaking, commercial filmmaking, and well, industry meaning like narrative filmmaking, commercial filmmaking, and YouTube.
Yeah.
And there's definitely things I love and dislike about all three. So, and I can't, you know, properly do all three the way I want. So I really feel like I'm at this point where I don't necessarily have to choose one, but I do think one deserves more attention than the others. That way I can grow faster in that department. I just don't know yet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, do you have that feeling at all that like one is more legitimate than the other one or anything like that?
I think when you're doing YouTube, it's just, for the most part, in the beginning stages of the channel at least, it's just you and a camera. For me, it's always just been me and a camera. I've always
Mm-hmm.
been the one filming and editing all my videos. Um, I don't even know if I ever got to a point where I could hire an editor. I don't think I could do that because it's just like, it feels so special to me. um, but, I think when you're doing YouTube, it may feel less legitimate simply because it's you. You don't have investors and big budgets behind you in most cases. Whereas if you're doing commercial film or narrative film, you have backers and you have a crew, and everything
Mm-hmm.
just seems more legit. You have to sign 5,000 contracts before you could step foot on a set. You have to get COVID tested like 15 times. Whereas I'm just like, I just set up my camera and now I'm talking to you and we're creating, which is, one of the beauties of YouTube. So I don't know. There's a, it's a tough, it's a tough toss up in my mind.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the one thing I got to tack on here because you said you don't know if you can put editing away or give that to somebody else. That is one thing that really stands out from your channel is that there's a style, right? there's a very particular style that you have, and I'm sure like you can train somebody to replicate that, but it's just um, now knowing the whole story, right? It's a little bit different, but like most channels of the size that you're at don't look that way. They are just like copies of something else, or very uh, not as polished as what you're putting out right now. So I can totally
Thank you.
understand that. Yeah, yeah. I mean, you have a little fan club going on over here, like with Justin, and also my wife, who's just like, yeah, man, she's so good.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, because to kind of why we're having this conversation is like I used to work in film, and that was my ultimate life goal, basically, right? I grew up in the heydays of MTV, and like I just wanted to make music videos. That's all I ever wanted to do. The reality of music videos is not great as a business, at least not
Really?
nowadays.
Yeah. I haven't touched music videos yet, so I don't know. Not great.
It's not a good business right now, no. Or at least I don't know, when I was in New York, it's probably not getting any better. Except that now you have YouTube as a whole nother platform. But I'm digressing. Yeah, so I kind of, for me, making movies, making films was always kind of like the pinnacle of creativity. And only over the last couple of years, I've like realized that I don't need any of this legitimacy, and I just like make whatever I want, put it on YouTube, and even put myself in front of the camera and feel much more comfortable than I ever thought I would, right?
Yeah.
And it's a funny world because I do miss film work every once in a while. I definitely miss like the crew vibes that you get, right?
Yeah.
You're on
The
set
social
17
interaction.
hours. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you're in the suck together, and you're like getting through it, and you're achieving something. And in the end there's a movie, and some of them are good, some of them are forgettable. But you definitely
Definitely.
experience something. Yeah. So it's an interesting conversation to have, and I feel like a lot of um, people who kind of get into filmmaking, video work, it's so hard to like define that genre right now
Yeah.
because everybody's grown up with cameras. So it's like, are TikTokers filmmakers? I don't know.
I don't know. It's hard to
It's like
say. You know
it's
what
a
I
very
mean?
broad spectrum. Yeah. So, but a lot of people have this like thought, oh, maybe I should go into like film, and be creative over there. I don't think it's exclusive, right? You can definitely do both, and there's some really good examples for that. Um, but it is very different avenues of creativity.
It is. It is, especially when you're not you know, director of photography, director, editor, someone that's not doing the creative work. Everything else is, you know, a facilitation. A
Yeah.
PA is a professional assistant, a production assistant. I call it a professional assistant. And, you know, that route will take you to an assistant director, which is good. You know, you can make good money and be a part of some cool films. But the work-life balance as an AD, it frightens me because they're probably the people there longest. I mean, it's crazy hours,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
by the end of it, you get to really feel like you were a huge integral part of the film, which is amazing. But I don't know if it's worth those rough and long hours. It's tough. It's tough.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
It
and
is.
an AD is basically a professional facilitator. And
Yeah.
that's not what I'm good at. You know, I lean into my creative outlets more so.
Yeah. But is that something that you aspire to, or because like you could like ditch the whole set life thing and just be a professional editor, right? Did
I
you
lost you
lose
for a
me?
second there. Yeah, I heard ditch the whole set life. So
Uh, yeah, you could ditch the whole set life and just become a professional editor or focus on the camera department or whatever, right?
Yeah, I have been thinking more and more recently that I feel like, I don't know for a fact, I still have more experiences to gather before I can make such a solid decision, but I really think I would be best utilized as an editor, a film editor, a TV editor. I think that's what I would be most happy doing. But then, you think, oh, set life is so cool. You get to have these crazy stories and meet really cool people. It's true, but I think the glamour of it has already faded for me. It faded the first hour I was on set, to be quite honest with you. I was like, okay, this is cool, but I would be okay not doing this again. But here I am.
Wow.
I do it. I still continue to do it. It's like a weird, once you get into it, it's hard to get out of it.
Do you want to compare your YouTube work versus being on set a little bit?
Sure. So I have been trying my best to utilize some of the things I've been learning from set and integrating them into my YouTube videos. I think the biggest thing I've learned is most of the day when you're on set is setting up the shot, rehearsing the shot, taking the equipment to different locations. The actual filming, if you took all that away, you're probably looking at like maybe a 3 or 4 hour day, if that. When you're actually filming the takes, it's not a lot. It's the setup. So I've been trying to integrate that into my videos where I take more time to set up the shots, make a shot list, really just be patient and not rush
Okay.
the shots as much, because then the output is just significantly better.
And do you ever have conversations on set about YouTube or your channel at all? Or is that something that you don't talk about on set?
I honestly really don't talk about it. This is a
Okay.
struggle, an internal struggle I've actually been
Yeah.
having. Is I'm sort of afraid, and I don't even want to. Part of me doesn't want to even admit this, but it's true. I'm sort of afraid that talking about me making YouTube videos will make my image on set look not as legitimate. I don't want to just be thought of as just a creator or just an influencer. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I look at myself as a filmmaker, and a lot of other YouTubers that make videos, I look at them as filmmakers. And I think there's a fine line, there's a fine difference. There's nothing wrong with either side of it, whether you content create, influence, make films. I just want to be looked at as, aspiring to get to a level where I'm making films and TV shows. And I'm afraid that, when people hear I make YouTube videos, they just immediately think, oh, morning routine, even though I just posted that video right now.
Yeah, I watched it. It's pretty good.
Thank you.
Yeah, because I would be really curious what the reaction is on set to
Yeah.
somebody having a YouTube channel.
Most of the time when I
'Cause-
tell people, I think it's pretty fine, pretty okay.
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. It's just because when you're on set, like you're so pinned down to your role, like people
Yeah.
only know you as a PA or as a gaffer or whatever your job is, and like breaking out of that is super hard. So that's why
Yeah.
this story of like, oh, start as a PA and work your way up your department and eventually you're gonna be a director. I don't think that happens very often.
I don't think so.
Like I really don't think, yeah. Whereas, a YouTube channel, anybody can start that, and if you have the tenacity, you can grow an audience and have fun with that and do whatever you want. If you could like have whatever you want, right? And you could choose between having a feature film under your belt that is totally yours as a whatever director, producer, whatever you can imagine, right? Or having a YouTube channel with, I don't know, 1 million subscribers, something.
Which would I rather have?
Yeah.
That's a tough question. because as you know, this is my third channel. I think the million mark is something that I've really been thinking about for many years. But at the same time, I've always thought about making movies. That's a tough question. You got
Okay.
me.
We
I
can
don't
sit
know.
on
Gotta
that a
think
little
about
bit.
that. We'll
Yeah,
think about
yeah.
that for a second.
You can just let it go in the background and maybe
Yeah,
we decide
I'll
at the end of
revisit
it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll revisit it.
I didn't expect
It's a
it to
great
be,
question.
yeah. So what is it about a million? Is it the golden play button, or is it just like the big number?
I think it's just the sound of it. A million, that's a lot. And it's not so much that it's about the numbers. I think it's just about how hard it is to attain that number. And the work that you have to put in, and the time that you have to dedicate, and the consistency, and the adaptation to changes within your channel, and changes to it within what's popular in society. It's a lot of, you have to have a certain amount of patience to reach 1 million subscribers. And I think for me as a creator, as a filmmaker, it would mean a lot. But for me as a human, to know that I finally reached 1 million, I think would be really special.
Hmm. Now you say that having already have experience with like large channels, um, why do you see it as this challenge that is kind of hard to break into?
Hard to break into YouTube.
Like what is the challenge of getting to 1 million subscribers?
I think it's just, it's to me the hardest part of YouTube is consistency. So I would say the biggest obstacle is being consistent every week or every day, every 2 weeks, whatever it is that you're posting. But also, unless you're creating, it's hard to understand this, but to put yourself in front of a camera week after week and document life or make short films, whatever it is that you're doing, you're growing with the audience, you're growing with the videos, so you have to be able to adapt to any changes. So sometimes it's hard when you look back to 2 years ago and you look at that video and you're like, oh my God, I posted that, I said that, I was wearing that, my hair looked like that. You have to be able to just put that aside and keep going. A lot of it is being secure with yourself, confident in yourself, which at the beginning of my channel, the whole reason I really started my second YouTube channel, where it was about like the fun videos, I was not very insecure. I was very insecure at that time. So I tried to use YouTube as a creative outlet to kind of, I don't know, maybe in the end make me feel even better about myself or good about myself, which is not necessarily a healthy thing to do. But I just did it, and I watched myself grow now throughout the videos, and I just think to myself, the pressing record, the very first step was the most important one, and sometimes the hardest. And you have to have, even though I say I was insecure at that time, the fact that I pressed record and I upload it and I did it every week shows more about myself than I thought.
Mm-hmm. That takes guts.
It does.
Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah. And are we gonna come back and forth to this like comparison between YouTube and filmmaking, right? That's
For
the whole
sure.
thing.
Yeah. Whatever you need.
Do you think it's harder or easier to make a feature film to make it in the film industry, whatever that means to you?
I guess it depends what you're doing. But I really think it's harder to do YouTube. Because when you're making a feature film, it's stressful, but it's not necessarily harder. You have sometimes hundreds of people backing you. You have production assistants to run and get your coffee when you're feeling low. You have people on lighting, on camera, making sure everything looks perfect. So that way, if say you're a director, all you're worrying about is that shot, that scene. Then you can go off to your green room, you can just relax a little bit, get ready for the next shot. Not saying that that's easier. It's a different skill set. It's a different level of
Mm-hmm.
the stakes are much higher. So it's definitely more stressful. But the actual act of creating on YouTube might be harder simply because you're wearing so many different hats.
Yeah,
You don't only
that's
have that one focus of how does this scene look? Okay, good. Okay, now I'm gonna go send it off to the editor, send it off to, DIT. They'll get it all handled on how to do a thing, you know.
yeah, it's definitely much more like all the labor is like divvied up between the departments and all the people working on it for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, it's so easy to forget about this perspective. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because yeah, I think yeah, from the outside it's so like whatever, you just make a YouTube video. It's like so easy. You just put the camera there, you turn it on, and then you have it's done, right? And a feature film or any film production, you need like to get financing, you need the crew, blah blah blah. It's like this Herculean effort, but it's stretched out over a much longer period of time, and you have so much more support along the way.
Yeah. It's very different. It's hard to compare. I think I'm settled on the idea that feature length filmmaking is more stressful. YouTube is probably a bit more difficult. And people that don't make YouTube videos are probably thinking I'm crazy right now. But try pressing record and then just see how it feels.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. Oh, I've seen people like completely close up in front of camera. It's like not even funny. They're
It's
like,
hard. That's the
yeah,
hard part too. A major challenge is
yeah.
getting comfortable in front of a camera. It takes maybe like, for me, it took like 20 to 30 videos, probably even more, before I really started feeling okay in front of the camera. It takes a long time.
When you had that second channel, the fun channel, did you have any intention behind there of like growing YouTube, or was it just for you and your friends and like let's have fun?
No, I wanted to grow it. I had a vision board. I wanted 100,000 subscribers. I wanted to go to Playlist Live. I wanted to collaborate with people, and I did all of those things, which was really cool. And I was 16 at the peak of that, so I was in a very formative time, which, not necessarily the best thing. I attributed a lot of my self-worth at the time to my YouTube channel. So when the channel started going down, I didn't know what to do. I was like, what? What do you mean? This is me. This is everything. And it took a few years of taking breaks from YouTube and stepping back from it to realize I'm a filmmaker, I'm not the type of person to prank, which is kind of what I was doing on that channel, and it didn't feel right. I didn't know that it didn't feel right to me at the time. I just saw views and I was like, this is so great, this is so cool. So when the views started going away and all that was left was the content, I realized I wasn't happy with it.
Hmm. And did you actually took then a break from YouTube, or did you go straight into making a new channel?
I kind of went back and forth. I had a hard time really separating from YouTube. I remember there was like 2 years where I wasn't posting every week. I was maybe posting once a month, but I still couldn't get myself to say I'm done with YouTube. I never was able to do that. And then I took a few months break, like solid months, where I didn't post at all. I went to college, had a good time, but I started getting inspired again to post videos. So I started posting videos in college. They were like more of the style of videos from the second channel, pranks, vlogs, not necessarily like creative vlog. The primary focus was entertainment, whereas now my primary focus is, it's hard to even say what the focus is now. It's really just about being as creative as I can and making something that I truly feel proud of, no matter how long it might take me. Whereas before it was how many videos can I pump out and get, what's going to get me the most views. It was a totally different perspective, and it kind of took, I think the channel kind of, depleting over time was completely necessary for me to realize what I really wanted to do. I think I derailed from your question a bit.
No, 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 no. That's fine. That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I guess what I'm trying to get at is, have you always been like studying YouTube, so to speak, like what makes or breaks a video, or is it something that only came about like recently with the focus on filmmaking?
I think I've always been a student. Um, I like to learn, just in general. I like to learn. So once I started YouTube and really getting into it and understanding, getting a rhythm with it, I wanted to learn how to be the best at it. So that's when I started slowly picking up more editing tricks and upgrading my software from iMovie to Final Cut to Premiere Pro. Now we're on. Avid is next, but we'll see. Uh, kind of just learning as much as I can, consuming as much as I can, and then throwing that back into the content. But I think it really, really became a serious thing for this third and most recent channel, where I've spent, where I should have been sleeping, I was watching how to grow on YouTube, or film booth videos, or
Mm-hmm.
the formula to YouTube, or do these editing tricks and market yourself like this.
Have you figured out anything like your own formula, so to speak, aside from like consistency, that is important for creators?
I don't really think of it that way. I kind of just create, and then a lot of times it just whatever comes out comes out, and I don't really have a huge plan going into an edit. I have a rough idea of what I want it to look like, but it always changes as I begin. Um, the main thing for me is storytelling, and I want to
Mm-hmm.
always be pushing forward story. And if I'm not doing that, then it doesn't feel like my video.
Mm-hmm. And how does that look before you film your videos? Because they feel so spontaneous and unscripted and natural. Is that the reality of it, or?
Most of the time, yes. A lot of times I'll have like I said, a rough idea. I'll write a few things down in a notebook, and then I'll just start filming. My most recent video, for instance, my morning routine video, that was actually scripted and shot listed, which I like because it makes it easier for me. It takes a little longer, but it does make it easier for me in edit and when I'm actually filming. But there's something about the spontaneity that I just love, in the fact that I can film whatever I want, add into the edit whatever I want. And like I had this shot list for this last video, I still added my own ideas in edit. I don't follow it to a T. But if I'm vlogging, for like the video I posted with my girlfriend, spending the day with her, just hanging around New York,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely not planned. Kind of just took my camera out for the day, and I documented our day, and I was like, okay, looked at the footage when it was all said and done. So what kind of structure can I find to this? There's not necessarily a plot or a story, but we went throughout our day. How can I show that in the best way, in the most creative way?
I see.
Yeah.
Trying to get all the secrets out of you.
Yeah. You're pulling them out of me.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Trying to
It's funny
bring
that you
it.
say
Yeah, go ahead.
it's just no. It's funny that you say you're trying to get the secret out. That blows my mind. Justin, he told me a while ago that he had watched one of my videos and wrote notes on it and just gone through it analytically. And I was like, send me those notes. I want to see what you're saying about my videos. Not in a bad not in a bad way. I was just really curious, and I was just shocked at what he found. And I didn't realize how much structure there really was to them.
Mm-hmm.
And even so, when people tell me, like I get a lot that what I do on YouTube is different, which I'm really flattered by. But it just, I don't know. It just feels like what I've always done, just a hopefully an upgraded version of it.
Yeah. I mean that's what I think, that you have a very special circumstance with starting editing so early on, and just it's just a natural talent that you've developed over time. Like, I don't know, do you think much when you edit, or is it kind of just you're just in the flow and things happen?
Sometimes I think, most of the times I don't. I kind of just like, I'll just get into this flow state and then I'll take a step back. I'll press the space bar, watch it through, and I'm just like, wow, okay, I like that. I can definitely tweak here, tweak here, tweak here. I'm very critical of myself. I like to watch a video, take a break, and then I'll go back with literally a notebook and I'll say, the fade into the music at second or minute 2, second 36 is slightly off, and then I'll go back and I will literally move it this much just because I feel like it's going to make that much of a difference. Nobody notices it probably, but I do. So it feels good. It feels all right.
Hmm. Do you miss that kind of control when you're on set, or is it a completely different circumstance?
It's a different part of my brain. It's really
Okay.
not creative at all. It's just it's doing doing my best to make sure some random civilian doesn't throw their water in my face or push me over because I'm telling them not to cross the street. You know, it's not creative at all. It's not
Yeah.
creative. I do it because you really do build up a great network of people. You get great stories. You know, I'm hoping one day I'll be on a late night show and they'll be asking me some funny stories and I'll tell them, when I was a PA. But I don't do it with the idea that it's going to get me exactly to where I want to be. I don't think it's the path. I think being a PA is a great path if you want to be an AD, an assistant director.
Hmm.
Let me say that again. I think being a PA is a great path if you want to be an assistant director. But if you want to be doing creative things, I don't think it's the only way to go. And hopefully I will be an example of that.
It sounds like you know what you want a lot better than what you say that you want, or
I realized
did
as I
that
was
make
saying
sense?
that out
Yeah.
loud that, yeah, no, as I was saying that, I'm like, it sounds like I don't want to, it sounds like I want to make YouTube videos and make that my way in, which, a lot of people do that, I've been thinking more and more that I could potentially grow my channel, use it as leverage to get funding for short films, make my own short films, submit them to festivals, and just continue to do that and see where it takes me.
Hmm.
I don't think I could PA for more than a year, realistically. I heard PA burnout is 6 months. I'm at 6 months, so we'll see what happens next month.
Yeah. I'm telling you, try different departments if you're up for it. There's
I'm curious
always
about, there's always what?
no there. Whichever department you want to join, like they always need hands, and
Yeah.
if there's brains on those hands, it's even better.
Yeah, I'm curious about props, set dressing, camera, like I said, I still really feel like I would love to edit. To be the person that edits Thor. Come on, just sit in the editing room and
Yeah.
just putting that all together, and then you watch that back in the theater. That's insane. I think that would be probably the most fulfilling thing that I could do, at least right now in this point of my life.
I mean, I think with things like Thor or anything like it, there's another small army editing that. It's not just one person.
Oh yeah,
But
for sure,
yeah,
for sure. No.
yeah. But then has YouTube in any way helped your own film production? Or is,
You mean my freelancing company?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I just honestly just for sharpening up my skills, and also clients find me that way. They will look at my videos and then see what I'm capable to do editing wise, and if that aligns with what they want to do, they can reach out to me. I've been doing some cool work with very interesting clients on the freelancing side, which I haven't really even touched on in this interview. I've realized I just did, like I said, a huge client of mine, Lisa Rinna. I do a lot of work with I do some work with this violinist named Charlie CM.
Mm-hmm.
Really talented guy. I have done smaller projects for different companies. I did like a virtual babysitters commercial. I can't even think now of all I've done a lot actually, freelance side. So that's cool too. But the thing I don't love about freelancing is like I'll make this video and I'll fall in love with it. It's amazing. It's beautiful, perfect. Doesn't need to be touched. And the client comes back and they'll say, we love it, but could we change the music? And I'm like, to change the music is to change the video. That's the thing about freelancing I don't love, is that clients don't necessarily, and it's not their fault, they don't know, but they don't understand how the smallest of changes impacts the entire video sometimes, and that can be frustrating. So there's pros and cons to every single outlet. It's just a matter of, just like any other job, there's pros and cons. It's kind of a matter of finding which one you can deal with the most and you enjoy the most at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally relate to that. When I quit filmmaking in New York, I was looking for like proper employment, and I actually ended up with a production company here in Vienna, doing a bunch of corporate interviews, and the feedback was always like, "Yeah, but can we take this interview out, or can we take this sentence out?" And it's like, yeah, but that's gonna mess up everything else that comes after.
Everything. There's a flow to it. There's a structure.
Yeah.
And it's always, the change is always right in the middle.
Yeah. So
the
I
most
feel
crucial part.
Yeah. But is that something that you like are actively pursuing right now? Like you are, I don't know, messaging potential clients, or they just find you, or how does that happen?
They find me. Freelancing is kind of, it's crazy to say, but it's kind of like, I consider it like a side hustle right now that I'm not, I'm just nurturing and seeing where it can go. Same with YouTube, same with PAing. That's my whole problem. They're all like side hustles. None of them are careers yet, which is fine. I'm young, I have time, but I need to, if I knew I wanted to take freelancing to the next level, I could reach out to clients and I could do different things that will help me reach more people. If I knew YouTube was the only thing I wanted to do, I could just, well, no, I would still need to work on PAing or freelancing because I don't make any money from YouTube yet. I don't know.
Since you're bringing this up, because that's something that just I would be curious about. That old channel, is that still, does it exist? Does it make any revenue? Is it completely dead?
It exists. It doesn't make revenue. It did at one point. I don't know where I went wrong with it. The thing is, I was so young at the time, so I had no idea what I was doing. If I had that now, it would be a business. It would be different. Yeah. I would have definitely hired people to handle some of the financial things that I'm not good at. It probably could be making revenue too, is a thing, but I think something had happened with the AdSense account. I don't know. There's a lot of layers to that channel that I honestly haven't even thought about, because for some reason it's hard for me to think back to it. I don't know why. I have this like weird.
You just want to close it and
I want to close it. Yeah, but at the same time, it's like, how could I close that? I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah. I had another thought that I could have just lost. Oh yeah, New York. How does New York play into all of this? Like, is that crucial that you're there for any of it, or?
It is crucial that I'm there for PAing, and crucial that I'm there for my brain. But for YouTube and freelancing, I could be anywhere. But I also think YouTube is much more enjoyable for me in New York because it's like a playground and it's so photogenic. Whereas at home in South Florida, I had pretty much exhausted my entire town of locations to film at, and I was just getting bored of it. New York it's just a breeding ground for creativity, and I love it. There are things about it I don't love, but most things most aspects of the city to me are necessary for me and my personality.
Cool. Yeah, just curious. New York is such a divisive place. And
Yeah.
I
You
mean,
either love it or you hate it.
yeah. And well, I kind of do both. Right? I stayed there, I lived there for almost 80 years, and I did love it. I hate it. I miss it sometimes, and I'm very happy not to be there, especially right now. So
Yeah, it is a
it's
bit
there's lots of
messy.
layers when it comes to New York.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah, cool. Um, do you think you mulled over the question between the feature film and the million
I knew
subscribers?
you were, yeah, I knew that's where you were going with that. I was like, okay, here we go. Um, I honestly think, and I'm glad you asked me this question, it put things in perspective for me. I honestly think at this point of my life, not forever, but at this point, I think 1 million subscribers would mean more to me.
Okay,
It's just something I've been chasing for so long.
you can get there.
I hope so. We'll see. But I definitely do still want to make movies. But I know that takes time. Most directors are not
Yeah.
22 years old. So there's no rush on that. I do want to
Yeah.
make, I do want to hit 1 million subscribers.
I don't know, send you something when you do. I don't,
Thank you.
yeah. No, it's just because I've really dug into YouTube like, I don't know, 2 years ago or something. And it still seems all very easy and attainable if you are sticking with it. Like,
Yeah.
and it's very much the big thing that made the difference for me of seeing it that way is just having a community, having people who are also doing that and kind of moving in the same direction. Because I see a lot of other communities that are very sour and very just like, I don't know, giving this vibe like YouTube owes them something, but they're not getting it, but they're also not making any effort. And I'm like, what do you expect? Like, you got to put something in to get something out. So yeah, it's really good to get your perspective on the thing, and maybe it's not as easy as I think it is, but I don't know. I'm staying optimistic when it comes to all of it.
Yeah. YouTube is a grind. Is what I always say when people ask me about it. It's a grind. It takes a lot of time. Most channels aren't really seeing success until 2 years in. It takes a long time, and you have to really be committed to the highs and lows of it before you can judge it, and before you can say, I deserve more subscribers, I deserve more views. It takes time, and if you really want it, you just gotta wait. It'll be worth it when it comes. It took me 4 years to hit 200,000 subscribers on my old channel. So,
Right.
and I just surpassed about a year of posting every week. So I got time. You got time. We both do.
Yeah. It's all easy. Are you? I mean, if you want to rush off to something else, that's totally cool. But if not, you want to talk about short form a little bit?
Sure.
Yeah. Are you tempted by the TikTok real short world?
I'm tempted by the reach it has and the way that it can help grow my YouTube channel, but I'm not tempted to be a TikTok creator or do shorts. I understand why some people are. It's just not for me. Like, I love watching things in a full frame, you know. And when I have to make I posted a preview of my last video on Instagram in vertical form for a reel, and I posted it on TikTok too. And when I was cropping it in Premiere Pro, I got sad because I was like, half of the clip is gone. It's gone. What am I supposed to? You can't even see. There was so much attention paid to the detail of it all, but you would never know.
It's a completely different art form. That's why I love posing that question. people who make videos on TikTok, if they are filmmakers or not. It's such a, I feel like this word filmmaker has such a, I don't know, aura around it, or particularly people who call themselves filmmakers have a certain connotation of what that means, and a little bit of a status that they derive from it. Where I also know a handful of people who don't dare calling themselves filmmakers because they've never went to school for it, they never made a short film or anything like that. But you look at their videos and it's like, you're a filmmaker, my friend. And I just find this dynamic very fascinating.
Yeah. I don't know. How do you define a filmmaker? And then you could say someone who makes films. Okay. Yeah. What's a film? What's a film and what's a video? What's the difference? It's a very fine line these days. Yeah. But I think you can noticeably see when someone considers himself a filmmaker and someone considers himself a video maker. There's nothing, that there's no shade to be thrown at either or. They're different art forms.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, different art forms.
I started calling myself a former filmmaker, now content creator.
Hey, if that's what it is, then that's what it is.
Yeah. Do you have any short way of introducing yourself and telling people what you do?
That's a good question.
Because I struggle with that a lot.
Well, I actually recently finished up a TikTok project. It's funny that you say that. It's called 32 Below. It's really cool, actually. And it's a series it's like a musical on TikTok. And my friend Chris, who created it, he's super talented. He's a singer, actor, he does it all. He took this musical, or rather a collection of songs, shortens them for TikTok. We filmed them in different locations, and we put that up. And then he asked me when it was all said and done, he's like, can you write a short biography about yourself for our website? I actually still have to respond to that email because I didn't know what to say. I was like, yeah, I got you. Mm-hmm. I guess I would say I'm a filmmaker, an editor, but would editor fall into filmmaker? You know what I mean? It's a creative.
It gets very fuzzy. Yeah.
Fuzzy, yeah.
Man.
I don't know. That's a good. Now I gotta think about. You've given me a lot to think about.
Yeah. I don't mean it in any harmful way. Just like to ask funny questions.
Yeah, no, it's a good question.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you want to, ask or say about this conversation between filmmaking and YouTube?
I will say that you have given me a lot to think about and honestly given me some clarity. I'm glad we had this conversation. I think from it, I've realized, and I've known this, every time I talk about this, the conversation always leads to YouTube.
There you go.
So even talking to you now, it helps me get more clarity on the situation and see what I enjoy. Like I said in my video, I think I'm just going to continue doing what I'm doing until one thing starts to exceed the other and kind of see how I feel about it. But it's good to talk to other creators and to kind of get different perspectives. We met through Matt Diavella's course, Slow Growth. Shout out Matt Diavella. And I've met a lot of really cool people from that course and from that community.
Yeah, you had a little meetup in New York.
With Elsa. Elsa's Scola?
Scola, yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Elsa Scola, we'll just say Elsa. Yes, my friend Elsa, we met up in New York, met through Slow Growth, so that was just really different for me. I've never done anything like that before. I never really met someone from the internet. I wasn't scared at all. We had Zoomed so many times. We haven't done it in a while. We've both been pretty busy, but normally every 2 weeks we'll get on Zoom and we'll talk about our channels, and it's so helpful. So I guess I would say to any creators out there, you find your people and just keep talking to them because they'll help you and you'll help them in ways you couldn't even imagine.